Hello, everybody in our social media land. Hello. We're going to give a chance for you all to come on and join us. My name is Dontravius Simmons. I am the Director of Team Services for the Boys and Girls Club of Albany, Georgia. And today we're so excited to have on here Miss Anita Wilson to join us today to share her experience in the gospel industry. Listen, she is an all around gift to us in the music industry. And today she'll be interviewed by one of our very own teams, Mr. Shamar Lane, who is our former Youth of the Year for the Jefferson Street Boys and Girls Club. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and he's going to take us away. Hey, enjoy this experience today, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. So I believe now is when we're going to play the video of her, a clip of her singing.
Hey,
Yes,
I can't
yes,
hear
that was Miss
anything.
Anita
There,
Wilson.
there we go.
So I guess we're going to get started with this interview. And before I begin, I just want to say I am a huge fan. I, your gracious voice is
Oh,
just,
thank you.
it's everything. And my first question is,
Thank you,
how do most people
Shamar.
enter the profession that you're in?
Of course, a lot of times it starts from singing in church to know that or feel that you have the gift of music and you have a strength in these areas. To begin doing it professionally, I guess it could happen a number of ways. But for me, it was definitely one thing leading to another with just kind of organically meeting people along the way in my life. It definitely increased when I moved from East St. Louis, Illinois, where I grew up, to Chicago, Illinois. And I just kind of was at the right place at the right time. Honestly, being at church and doing some local recordings and learning more about the recording process, the live recording process, I just began to meet different people. So for me, it started that way, with learning more and meeting more people and just kind of, I say, organically networking, because that's something that can be forced sometimes. But I believe in it being natural and organic. And when I met Donald Lawrence, actually, that's when a lot changed for me. But I think that's important for everybody to kind of first hone in your craft and definitely learn more about what it is that you want to do, not only about the music, but the business side too. And then put yourself in places where you're able to do some networking and meeting people, because a lot of it hinges on the relationships that you have. Um, so yeah, I don't want to ramble too long, but that's kind of how it started for me, and that's the opportunity I think that most people have to just learn more about the profession and then kind of get around people who are doing it, and then it kind of takes off from there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And my question,
I can't hear
um,
you, baby.
you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Let me try. Can you hear me now?
Oh
Miss
man,
Wilson?
I
Can you hear
can't
me
hear a
now?
thing.
Miss, can you hear me now?
Oh man, I could hear you at first, but I can't hear you anymore. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
You can?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Okay, I can't hear you. I'm not sure what happened. I could at first, but I can't any
Can you
longer.
hear me, Miss Wilson?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Simmons,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Shamar.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm not sure why I can't hear Shamar anymore.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to Shamar. Try rejoining and join back in.
Yeah, maybe
Yes,
that'll
sir.
work.
So, Ms. Wilson, I'm going to go ahead and ask a question from Shamar's list of questions.
Okay.
Um, how has the music industry changed since you first started singing with Donald Lawrence in the Tri City Singers?
Really, really good question. That was 2004. It's changed a lot. The gospel music sound has evolved since then. There was a time where the choirs were very prominent, and then it went from choirs to more ensembles and groups because I think it became too much to travel that many people in a choir. So then you started seeing a lot of ensembles and groups. Um, and then, of course, a worship wave kind of started where now mostly you see a lot of solo artists who do worship music. So that changed a lot. And as well, since then, it's gone from mostly CDs purchasing as into digital and streaming being more prevalent. Um, than buying CDs. So that was a huge change for the music industry as well. So those are a few changes. Hey Shamar, are you back?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know, but
It's
I'm
all
sorry.
good. No worries. No worries at all.
So Mr. Simmons, would you want me to continue with the, because I didn't mean
Okay.
to interrupt you answering that question.
No problem at all. I was wrapping up. Yeah, it's a few things that have changed, like the sound as well as how people listen to music. It's more digitally now than ever.
Could you could you describe a typical work day?
Yeah, for me, I am self-employed. So for me, a typical work day involves I wear a lot of hats. Being self-employed is really dope because you can make your own schedule. Um, but you do have to be very disciplined as well because you can't just be lazy all day too. You have to kind of have some structure to your day. So a typical day for me is waking up maybe around 9 a.m. Getting my work day started about 10 o'clock. And just depending on the day, seeing which area I'm going to focus on today and the different hats that I refer to. I'm an artist, so there's a creative side, of course, to what I do. That's writing songs and learning songs and being in a studio, laying demos and preparing for my next new music. Um, the executive side of things is the more business side, where I have to think about um, the reports that I have to look at from monthly streaming and the plans to market and support my new music and my current music that's out. So it's a lot of different hats that I think about. But a typical day for me involves kind of touching on several of those areas. Um, Many times, much of a bulk of my work is mental because if you were just a fly on the wall, it may look like I've sat around all day and did nothing sometimes. But it can be exhausting at the end of the day because I've been thinking all day and thinking for hours about this and how to execute this, and then I start thinking about this and then how to execute this. So it can be a lot of mental work. But yeah, a typical day for me kind of touches on all those and puts on and takes off different hats throughout the day.
Yes, ma'am. So, considering my background as an organist, growing up in the church, being there
Hmm.
every Sunday, um, do you think that it would, the music industry, the gospel music industry, would be something that I could pursue professionally?
Indeed, indeed. Like I mentioned, most of us started right there in church. So I think that is definitely the perfect breeding ground to first of all know what the message is. Know that gospel music is so special because there's a message behind gospel music. So we know that that is the most special thing about this genre. But of course, as well, that's where you can learn and get better. And I started out as a little girl in church, and a lot of that foundation it has of course stayed with me all of my life. The times that I wasn't so good and I had to learn, and the videos you hate to see because it's like, oh God, I sounded horrible, but I think that's a part of our everyone's journey, and to continue on that path as you continue to grow older in your teenage years, in your 20s, and so on and so forth, continuing to get better, continuing to learn. And like I also mentioned, meeting people that's in the industry. I'm an advocate for not only learning and mastering your craft, whatever that is, as a singer, as an organist, but getting into the music industry. A lot of times people think about the music, but they don't as much think about the business. And Shamar, I would definitely say that there is more than enough room for you and many people who desire to be in the music industry. But I would encourage you to learn the business part of it as well. As a musician, I don't know if you're a songwriter, but there's so many different ways to um, be compensated and to be paid, and you want to make sure that a lot of times people want to get signed to a record label real quick and all that, but there are ins and outs and fine print that you don't want to ignore with those contracts that people are kind of really, really thirsty for. They're not always in our favor. So I learned that from my mentor Donald, and I would tell you that and everyone that it's important to the door is open for you, but so you're not taken advantage of, so you're not caught off guard, so you don't look up years later and like, oh God, is that what I signed? I was just happy to go to my photo shoot, but that's what I signed. You just want to make sure that you learn all the areas of this business as well as the industry and the music ministry side of it. And the music, some people start in church and they end up playing R&B music, soul music, pop music, which is all good. That is just fine. But you want to definitely make sure you cross all your T's and dot all of your I's and know that you're well prepared. But yes, the door is wide open for you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. My next question
Yes,
is,
sir.
some people go into jobs and they really love their job, but some people didn't envision that their path is what they thought they would be doing. So my question is, if you could start all over, would you choose a different profession? And if so, why?
Um, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy what I do. So I don't think that I would choose a different path. Um, I love how everything we're talking about just connects to the previous question and stuff, because a lot of what I just mentioned about the business and all of that, I would do some things differently. Um, I would be more prepared and knowledgeable before I came into the music industry. Um, yeah, I would have studied more about the ins and outs and not just the surface of what people see when you think music industry artists and the Stellas and the Grammy. We see all that fun stuff. But I would definitely change my focus and be more prepared before coming into the industry. But I think I would, if I had it to do all over again, I would still choose music because it's a beautiful gift. It literally is the gift that keeps on giving. I'm really blessed that people continue to receive and be blessed by music that I released 10 years ago, up to this very moment. So I appreciate that that is such a unique gift that will continue to live. It literally lives. So yeah, I would choose music again.
Yes, ma'am. What do you find most
Uh-oh,
enjoyable?
unmute.
Can you hear me?
Nope, I'm just reading your lips.
Lord Jesus.
Oh no, it's not muted or anything.
No, ma'am.
Oh man.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you find most enjoyable about your job?
I find most enjoyable. It's beautiful to do what I love. I used to say it like this a lot, and it still rings true. To do, I love that I can do what I love for who I love. So I love music. My family was very musically inclined. I learned music from my parents. So it's nostalgic for me when I think about the foundation and the artists. You see all these soul artists, a lot of these artists my parents introduced me to. So music has a special place in my heart. And of course, I love God and I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in the Holy Spirit. And God carries me through. So um, I love most that I can create something that was not there. Um, and I can just experiment and come up with the best version of that idea. Um, and then it becomes something. I'm able to upload it and it's able to not only bless other people and fill other people's hearts, but it's able to fill my heart. And I'm able to make a living from that. I think the whole picture of it is really a gift. And it's really, really a blessing to be able to be creative with my husband. That's probably the best part of it, that we can create together, and be musical partners as well as partners in life. So yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love being my own boss. I know what it is to work for someone else. Um, and I know what it is to work for me. Thankfully, this year I celebrated 8 years of self-employment. So I love that this musical journey is something that I'm able to create and that can sustain, especially throughout this pandemic and just throughout life's times. So yeah, those are some of the things that I love about the journey.
Yes, ma'am. Because I know most people see the entertainment aspect of being a singer or musician, and I know it's
Hmm.
sometimes stressful nights, and you
Yes.
know things might get difficult. So my question is, would the work that you do involve any lifestyle changes, such as traveling or late
Mhm.
night business entertaining?
For sure, for sure. This year, of course, has been different because my travel shut down at the beginning of this year. Um, that initially was beyond my control. As it's continued on, it's been my choice, just so I can just kind of pause and not move too soon and make sure everything is safe for me and my family. But yeah, it definitely involves a lot of travel, which I'm grateful to be able to travel if someone wants me to come somewhere and sing and do music for their events, or for writing sessions and to produce other artists. So it definitely entails a lot of travel, which is something to get used to. I've been doing it for a really long time, but that's a lot on the body. So you have to be prepared for that. Um, and to hit the ground running whenever you get to your destination. So you have to be physically and mentally prepared for that. And you mentioned late night entertaining. Yeah, there are plenty of late night studio sessions or late services, and you know how it is being in church when
Yes, ma'am.
you be in church late and all of that, and then you got a 5 o'clock flight the next morning. So it can be a rigorous schedule, that you have to be prepared for. Indeed, indeed.
Yes, ma'am. My next question is: are there any companies or artists that you would suggest I study or target to better myself at being successful in this business?
For sure. I think that it would be wise for you to pay attention not only to the people who do what you do as a musician. Um, it's always good to have mentors, and a lot of times people think mentors are someone that you can call and spend time with all the time and whatnot, and that is the case. But I also think that there are mentors from afar that I will never meet. You know, Oprah is a mentor because I've studied what she does and how she does it. Different women in the music industry who have taken control of their careers, like, you know, Yolanda Adams or Sylvia Rohn, or female producers like Missy Elliott, different people that I've noticed along, throughout the years doing what I love to do. So I pay attention to that. So I would say definitely pay attention to people like Corey Henry. You know, he's an amazing organist. I know you know Corey Henry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Richard Gibbs is an amazing organist. You know, I would definitely Billy Preston from back in the day. I don't even know if you know who that is, but
Yes, ma'am.
but yeah, paying attention to um, not only the people on the creative side, but I even now continue to pay attention to people who are on top of their business too. You know, those are the things that people may post about and then they just pass by because that don't look too glamorous. But when you hear about people owning their masters and um, doing a deal that, you know, those times that people were tripping that Beyonce did Coachella, but she only got paid a certain amount. And Ariana got this, but Beyonce only got this. But people failed to pay attention that Beyonce got a lesser amount, but she got the rights to the footage to make a whole movie out of it the next year. So that's a bag. You know, that's an
That's a
important
bag.
and smart business decision. Things like that I pay attention to. So I would suggest others do the same, because it's not always what meets the eye, as they say. It's the intricate parts of people's journey that are in executive positions as well as the creative positions that you can kind of glean, you know, little ideas from there and notice how they do that and spend some time reading. So your journey can be a hybrid of all of those influences that you paid attention to. I hope I answered your question a little bit. I feel
Yes,
like I
ma'am.
got,
You are answering
okay.
these questions and more.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Good.
my next question was, what is the greatest challenge you think you've had to overcome in this business?
The greatest challenge I've had to overcome, two things come to mind, if I may share two things. What I had to embrace is sticking to my guns to just be who I am. And continuing, I was going to say fighting against, but it was never a fight for me, but it's always been an effort for me not to yield to the pressure to conform, to be like everybody else or do music like everybody else, look or dress like anybody else. I've always been in my own space from the very first song that you heard me sing. It was different. It wasn't what was fitting into gospel radio or on the charts. Um, but I always owned it. And there was pressure from executives and record labels that I was affiliated with to like, hey, mate, why don't you use a different producer? Why don't you do songs like these worship songs that everybody's liking now? Why don't you maybe think about doing that? And it was always a really quick, nope, I'm good. No, I'm good, because that never felt organic to me. And I was happy to start my musical solo journey in my 30s. So I was very well aware who I was. And I think that's important no matter what age you are. Like, if that's how you play and you got a little quirky thing about how you play, you stick to that, Shamar. You do that.
Yes, ma'am.
You do that. People might be like, this Shamar always doing that funny chord, that weird chord. But in 10 years, they're gonna be calling that the Shamar chord. You know what I mean? So really stick to who you are. And the other thing is the kind of challenge would be what I've mentioned, thinking that the best route was to be affiliated with the record label. And now I know that that is not the case, definitely not the case for me, and it's not the case for many, but it depends on how you're wired. I quickly learned that I want to know the details. I want to know how this is working. I'm not just an artist that this company only talks to me about the music and the sessions and the songs and stuff. No, I want to talk about the streaming. I want to talk about the budget. I want to talk about the timeline. I want to talk about those kinds of details. And I got tired of being treated just like an artist because I'm definitely more than that. So I had to learn that, and it was an effort and it was a challenge to pull away from that and to kind of get through the terms of those contracts that I got myself into, and just kind of clench down and just be like, all right, let me get through this. I'm learning lessons. I shed some tears. I was upset. I said some stuff I probably shouldn't have said because I had regrets. But I just kind of I had to bear down and just kind of get through those years that I was kind of locked into certain contracts. And I'm glad to be on the other side of that, because that was a challenge, being in a position that I knew was not most comfortable for me. So that's those two things: being organic and making sure that what you get into is best for you, your strengths and your weaknesses, and only you can determine that. That's why it's good to really think through these things before stepping into it.
Yes, ma'am. I have learned so much in this short amount of time. So you have definitely helped me.
Good. I'm
And
glad. I'm
my
glad.
last question would be, what advice would you give to teens my age, not just for music, but we in the middle of a pandemic, and just how to
Yeah,
any advice on life?
indeed. Well, y'all are definitely. How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 15.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and yeah, the teens right now are definitely living through a really whack time. It's just crazy. And anything that we could kind of compare it to from the 60s and the civil rights movement and all of that, it's nothing compares to this. And that's not to take or discount anything that has taken place before. This is just nonsense. So I really feel bad that you guys have to live through it, but everything truly does happen for a reason. And when we walk through these things, it pulls something out of us, and it pulls on something that's inside of us to be strong and to really, really understand that we got to keep going. I don't want you guys to fall to any temptation or any depression during this time, because it's really like these are years that you guys should be just enjoying just freely. And unfortunately, you're not fully able to do that. Um, there's so many different challenges, but I just encourage each of y'all, man, to really, really make the best of every day that we get, and make sure you connect with people that are healthy for you and positive for you, because when you do have idle time, or things with how we learn right now are just weird. um, when you do have idle time, that's when you get into stuff that you shouldn't be getting into, or you bored, so you go holler at this person, or you try this because you're bored and all of that. I would just really encourage y'all, first of all, if you believe in God, pray to him, talk to him, ask for his help. He's always near, and he really never leaves us. um, Surround yourself with people who care about you, and if you don't have a whole lot of those people, if it's just one person, you live with your mom, you live with your sister, whatever that is, be patient as we all get through this time together. I pray that these election results will steer us in a better direction. We have to hold on to hope. I'll be honest, during this time, it's been hard to hold on to hope, because we're not done tripping off yesterday's nonsense, and then it's something to trip on today. Or we don't have the last person's name who was murdered by the police, because okay, they murdered somebody else. So it's hard to hold on to hope, but we must. There is a plan. The Bible tells us God has a plan for us, and it's not to cause us harm. It's to prosper us. We have to get there, though. We won't see the plan if we give up. And I really, my dad used to say 1 day at a time, and then we start saying 1 hour at a time. So there's no easy way through this, but I think if you surround yourself and make sure you're intentional about being connected to people that are healthy for you, and being in tune that you're, yeah, okay, I'm cool. Things ain't perfect, but I feel good. Those mental checks. Don't be scrolling on social media and feeling that social media pressure and saying, "Oh, they doing this. I better do this because everybody doing this. So I need to do this too." Nope. Don't let no pressure get to you. Don't let any peer pressure get to you. Always stay focused and look to your future because you have a bright one. And you won't get there if you let all this stuff take you out mentally or physically. Um, so yeah, I hope I said something within that, but it's important to be around a good crowd, a good support system is what I'm trying to think of, that will support you, that will encourage you, and make sure that you're your best friend. Because I get that while we kind of keeping our distance and can't be around our homies because they might be not being safe, they might be messing around, had that Rona. We can't take that
We
chance.
can't, no, ma'am.
We can't take that chance. So now be your best friend. Look in the mirror when you go to the bathroom, or when you take your shower and you glance in that mirror, you talk to yourself. You say, listen, you gonna have a good day today.
Yes,
Yesterday
ma'am.
was rough. I know it. Listen, my mood was all jacked up. You're gonna have a good day today. Be your own best friend. Sit wherever you sit and watch TV. Laugh out loud. Make your own space of peace. And that's, I think with God, with the support system, and with you loving you, and you supporting you and loving you the way you want other people to, God set us down for a reason. And I think that we all need this time, all ages, teens as well, to really stay focused on what's healthy for us. And I know that's very mature thinking because y'all just want to maybe kick it right now, but y'all got some maturity at that age. And it's pulling on all of that maturity so you can be your better you. Um, so when we do come out of this thing, because we coming out. So when we do come out, we're gonna be better. We ain't gonna be perfect, but we're gonna be better. It's gonna be next year. So we're gonna end up saying we were in that crib for a whole year. Okay, well, what did you learn during that year? What did you stop doing that your tail don't need to be doing? What did you stop? What did you start? What did you learn? Who did you help? Who did you just pop up and check on? Like, hey, I'm just calling to say, hey. All of those moments pull some of those things that might seem a little corny, but the intangible things are most important while you're on this earth, to make sure you love you right and love everybody around you right. And y'all, we're going to get through this together. So I hope I said something, child. I get to rambling, but all of
Yes,
it was from my
I'm
heart.
listening to every word, every sentence. But thank you, Mr. Simmons. Do you have anything to that you would like to say before we?
Yes, I want to first say thank you so much, Miss Wilson, for agreeing to be a part of this segment
Thank you.
today. Each Thursday, we bring on different special guests. And
Hmm.
so we're so thankful for you to come on today and share, and promise you that you've made a friend out of the Boys and Girls Club of Albany, Georgia.
Thank
And as soon as
you.
this pandemic lights up, we're going to try to make sure that we can get you down here to Albany, Georgia.
Yes, I look forward. I will hold you to it. Atlanta is like my second home. So listen, I got love for Georgia, and I look forward to it. Thank y'all so much for inviting me to hang out.
Hey, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.